Hi, hello, and welcome to the latest in the series of the Earn, Learn, Thrive LinkedIn Lives. And if you're here watching live, do say hi. I can see Lise is here. So say hello to us in the comments. And I'd like to start by introducing my guest today, Fatima Losonchi. Did I pronounce that correctly? I'm not sure I've ever said your surname before, Fatima. How should I have said it?
Losonci is fine, thank you.
Losonci. Okay, got it now. Fatima, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do as well?
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I'm an ELT teacher trainer, currently specializing in teaching skills, especially for teachers who are planning to become better at teaching IELTS. So this is a new angle, and I'm doing this in my new teacher training course called How to Teach IELTS, the Ultimate IELTS Teacher Training Bootcamp. And that's about it. That's the new offer and the new profile. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about LinkedIn. So this is quite meta, really. We're having a LinkedIn Live to talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, as I quite often say, my favorite platform. Are you listening, LinkedIn algorithm? And, you know, there are lots of reasons for that, which no doubt we'll cover kind of throughout our chat now. But I know that for you, like when I first said to you, oh, yes, LinkedIn's wonderful, I love it, you know, you were very kind of, oh, really? So tell me a bit about that, like how you used to feel about it and why and what changed.
Yeah, I think I was even more outspoken about how much I hated it. So that's really, you know, gentle and an understatement, because I used to not understand how to use it. I used to dislike the aspect of, you know, I'm so happy to announce that I got this position, or I'm so happy to announce. So I probably, because I wasn't very skilled at using it, I didn't quite understand you know, how to even curate my own feed, or how to connect, how to use the platform. And I still don't fully understand it, but I am very keen to learn more and more now. I didn't use to enter at all. So like every 3 months I checked in, and yeah, I saw another, I'm happy to announce, and I was like, I'm out of here. There's no value in it for me. And I just focused on sharing dogs on Facebook and clicking like on other people's dogs and political posts. So I wasn't very sociable on any platforms, really. And I didn't quite have to be, because I was happy writing in my bubble, in my woman's cave. And as I'm making this transition into another, you know, I know so many of us are doing it, and you're helping us so immensely with this transition into really fully fledged freelancers and successful ones. I realized that I really need to learn more about marketing. And I made quick market research as part of your program, Flourishing Foundations. And I really planned to post about my plan to write and to launch an IELTS teacher training program only on Facebook. And I thought, yeah, because Rachel is talking so much about LinkedIn, I'm just gonna, you know, put it there up on LinkedIn as well, but mostly focus on Facebook and on all the Facebook groups that I thought were relevant and going to be useful. And I did that, and there was zero response on Facebook, except from my mother, who is a very keen supporter. And even in the groups, I didn't find any engagement. And compared to this on LinkedIn, I got kind of picked up by the algorithm in a way, and I got tremendous reach and a tremendously encouraging response to the idea at that point. And then that's this history, as you know.
Yes. Didn't you get something like sort of that? You got thousands of views, didn't you, and comments? I can't remember how many. Go on, show off, tell us.
Well, I don't like people bragging just about their metrics, because I'm very prone to doing that, partly because I don't really understand which metric is most important to focus on. So this is still a learning curve. But I did get 28,000 views. I got like, just preparing for this today, I looked at the numbers. There were around like 500 comments, half of which were mine. But just for those of you all out there who are not LinkedIn fans yet, or are not really sure about, you know, metrics, just nowadays when I post, there are 10 comments or 15 comments, or if it's a really popular one, then maybe 100, but never 500. So it's really just extraordinary. there were more than 150 likes and other reactions, as we call them. So yeah, it really kind of blew up under me and really validated the idea, and validated the idea as well that I do need to focus on LinkedIn because there's more intentionality in people around this platform than Facebook or other.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. You know, people tend to come on LinkedIn because they want to interact with people who kind of do the same kind of thing as them, or who do the kind of thing they're looking for, or whatever. Whereas Facebook is much more about friends and family. So, you know, and that also means that, you know, in terms of people posting, it's getting noisier, LinkedIn. Every year, more and more people are posting. But still, compared with like Facebook or Instagram, far fewer people post. And so it is just easier, I think, you know, to get seen.
And even so, it's really important to be super intentional about our target audience, because partly why I don't like to talk about this 28,000 or however many thousand, because the algorithm picked it up just as IELTS and started showing it to students, which I'm not targeting anymore. So there was even a conversation around just whether really I can trust that this idea is fully validated at all if prospective students are super keen on the idea, even though the post itself is saying, I'm thinking about helping teachers, would you be interested? People see the word IELTS and then they will comment and like and engage anyways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you make a very good point about metrics. I mean, I asked you to kind of talk about the numbers because I think it's motivating in a way for people to see that you can be quite new to the platform and you can still really have an impact. You know, it's definitely possible. But you are absolutely right that it does depend who you're having the impact on and kind of what that impact is as well. You know, so it's not as simple as, you know, just rock up and post something and that's it. All your problems are over, unfortunately.
And it's a learning process for us all. So I'm still getting likes from prospective students who I then now understand that I shouldn't send a connect request, or what we call it on LinkedIn. So just becoming more and more intentional about the features of the platform, the new ones being rolled out, such as the newsletter or you can subscribe and you can click the bell icon. Please click the bell icon, everybody, on our profiles, by the way, if you don't want to miss any posts from either one of us, because other than that, otherwise, people do get to see 10% or 15% of what we post. And that shocked me when I heard this statistic. So
or less possibly. I mean, that's something that, you know, I quite often talk about to people because I'm running at the moment. I've just opened the doors to a 5-day LinkedIn visibility challenge. And I've got people coming into the Facebook group and I'm asking them as they come in, kind of like, what holds you back from being more visible on LinkedIn? And one of the things that people mention a lot is, oh, you know, I don't want to bore people. I don't want to annoy people. And it's because I think often people don't realize that, firstly, most people won't see something that you post anyway, even if they follow you. And secondly, if they're not interested in what you're posting and they never engage with it, there's even less chance that they're going to see it. You know, so some people will see your stuff all the time, but that's because they've shown the algorithm that they're interested in it by often liking and commenting on it. So we don't have to worry too much, I think, about that, you know, because people, it is self-selecting.
Yes, and it's so hard to believe as an introvert and as somebody who hates to be bombarded by. So it's again it's more like a psychological learning curve, or right. You know, I'm dancing with this edge right now, just trying to be more and more visible, and believing that people who want to see it will see it. Partly because the algorithm is taking care of it, partly because they themselves actively can curate their own feeds. They can decide who they subscribe to or follow, etc. So, yeah, it's something to really believe and just move on.
Yeah, and you know, I definitely can relate to that because, you know, I'm not very extroverted myself. And I think it is kind of, any kind of social media is a bombardment, like by its very nature, because that's, you know, that's how it works. But you do have more control than you might imagine over what you get bombarded with, if you see what I mean, because that is all about what you like, what you comment on, what you follow, you know, and the social media platforms are not trying to give you things that you don't want to see, because that's the opposite of what they want to achieve. They want you to like the things, because then you'll stay on the platform longer. You know, so I think understanding kind of that's how it works does help, I think. So I can see quite a few people are watching us at the moment, which is great, watching live. Do say hi in the comments if you are, so that we know who's here, because we're over on StreamYard, so we can't actually kind of see anybody unless you comment. And if you've got any questions, do feel free to pop them in the comments as well. So something else actually that comes up quite a lot is, you know, the idea of who you're connected with, because, you know, this relates to what you were saying, Fatima, particularly if you've always used LinkedIn as a way to kind of keep in touch with colleagues, and you don't happen to be aiming your service at colleagues, it's fine for me, because I'm interested in, you know, other teachers and other writers, right? But if you're looking for students and everybody you're connected with is a colleague, you know, then what do you do? Do you have any words of wisdom on that? Because you were in this position, I imagine.
I am totally in the position, because even today, when I do log in, and I'm now trying to become more intentional, and like you recommended, I do schedule LinkedIn into my days. And so I like to jokingly say that LinkedIn has kind of become my workplace recently, now that I'm launching the bootcamp and have other plans. But I am still going back into the old habit of noticing commissioning editors and people on my level or above or sideways, and I need to just shake myself and just be mindful of who I am trying to connect, which in my case is people who have at least CELTA or equivalent, who at least speak English on a C1 level or above, have been teaching English at least, and preferably a little bit of IELTS doesn't hurt much. So I can use these keywords when I look for people in using the search function, and just be mindful and not forget. Yes, a couple colleagues are nice, and it's very lovely to bond and to encourage each other to be checking what everybody else is doing, learn from each other, and be very mindful of who I am actually trying to help with. Help with is the operative word as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really nice way of putting it, actually, Fatima, because, you know, I mean, this is the way that I see social media marketing is. And this goes back to what you were saying right at the beginning about this, you know, I'm so happy to announce things. I think a lot of people, and I'm sure I used to be the same, see social media as a kind of broadcast function, right? You know, that you kind of put something out there. Like you've got this megaphone, right? But actually it's not that at all, or at least it doesn't work very well if you do that. It's about communicating and conversations and connections and relationships. And, you know, if you're wanting to build relationships with teachers who are teaching IELTS, for example, then obviously if you spend all of your time talking about publishing, you're not going to connect with them. You know, so it is about that sort of intentionality, and yes, it is marketing, but I think if we think of it as building relationships first and foremost, rather than trying to kind of, you know, sell, I think it's much more effective and much nicer as well. So we do have a question here. Jenny is saying, when you start posting, are the people you follow likely to see your post? Well, I mean, when you talk about sort of the algorithm on LinkedIn, I have to say that nobody actually knows, apart from the people who program the algorithm, how exactly it works, right? It's a very sort of arcane mystery. But some people think, there are people who spend their lives kind of researching this stuff. And some people think that when you start posting, LinkedIn will often kind of reward you, which maybe is what happened with you, Fatima.
Absolutely, yes.
So I think, you know, actually sometimes your first post can do very well. I've been posting on LinkedIn for a long time, really, since probably about 10 years. But I know when I started doing reels on Instagram, my first reel had like 9,000 views or something. So I think that was an example of me being rewarded for doing my first one. So I think they might be right about that. But generally, though, it is a kind of build up. And I think you need to think about it like kind of papier-mâché. You know, you just have lots and lots of, every time you post, it's like another layer, and it builds up more.
And I agree. And like you teach in your program as well, and then I have seen this in other, you know, confirmed in practice and heard it from other marketing experts. You do need to have a lot of pillars and a lot of not just content pillars of your own that you're, again, mindful of and are trying to keep mentioning in an even fashion. So, you know, for example, I love IELTS, and I especially love IELTS writing. And if I'm not paying attention, I would only be posting about IELTS writing. And yet I know that many teachers struggle to teach IELTS reading and listening, etc. So that's one example. And even within your content pillars, you have to have variety of the kinds of posts. And then again, there are many experts who are talking about how you want to entertain, you want to inspire, you want to use the poll function on LinkedIn, and of course video, which is dreadfully stressful for me because I'm new to this, but it's very important. So I'm kind of learning to accept it.
Well, we're doing a live now, so that's pretty good. But yes, I mean, I think on all the platforms, video is becoming more and more important. And in fact, on the 5-day challenge that I'm just started, one of the days is about video content. But I have said that I'm not going to force anybody to post it on LinkedIn. They can put it in the group instead if they want to. A bit safer. Right. But I do want to kind of encourage people to at least try a bit of video, because I think it is the way that social media is going, full stop, and all the platforms reward it. And we do have Ashley Griffith, who's going to be in the group as well, who's a LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, but he's on LinkedIn a lot, and he is a video confidence coach. So he's going to be giving us a few tips as well. So if that's something that you feel that you need to take the plunge with, that might be a good reason to come and join us. Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I don't do anywhere near as much video as I should probably either. Mostly, I think, because I like writing. It's less faff. I don't have to kind of set up a tripod and things. But I do know, you know, how important it is for sure. Yeah, Tree saying it's stressful for everyone. Yeah, I think most people find, you know, video a bit stressful, but it is important, partly because it's what the algorithm rewards, but also in terms of what I was saying about relationship building. You know, people get to know you better when they see you on camera. Julie's saying I'm not a video watcher. I don't even have speakers attached, so I tend not to think of posting them. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, actually, I would say if you're going to post a video, ideally, I would put subtitles on it, because a lot of people don't put the sound on. And that goes for any platform, you know, including Instagram and even TikTok. So, yes. Okay. Oh, hi, I've just seen, yeah, Ludmilla says, I teach IELTS online at the Green Academy, Australia. I also post on our company page twice a week here on LinkedIn. So there isn't a question there, but company pages is something that does come up sometimes. Do you have a company page, Fatima?
Not yet, and I'm not in a hurry to set up one. Partly because, again, something to be mindful of is that I'm doing B2C, not B2B. I have to feel kind of kind of remember all these key ideas that I learned in your program, and that I have been becoming more and more conscious of, that I'm trying to target people. I'm a small enterprise, and I'm not sure about some details of my business model going forward, but I do know this, that I don't plan to target companies, definitely not just yet. So, and as far as the reach of the business pages that I have heard, that's not impressive either. And I do want to just learn how to manage my personal profile, how to tweak my, what do we call that, the heading, or just
the headline.
Headline thing. That's very important to really talk to your ideal client and not your colleagues anymore. Just to learn all the other features that are new to me or are coming out. And catch up to, like the newsletter feature and all the other jazz.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree, actually. I mean, I do have a business page, mostly so that I can have the logo on my personal profile. You know, I don't really do very much on the business page. I just occasionally share posts to it. Because I know that the reach is not very good. And like, you know, Facebook is the same, that business pages, the reach tends to be poor because essentially they want you to buy advertising. So they're not kind of going to make it, you know, too easy for you, basically. So, yes, I don't tend to sort of focus on that very much. And I think there are lots of features that you can use, like you mentioned. I mean, if you're going to post regularly, it may well be worth considering getting a creator profile, because that allows you to have like a little video in your profile photo. Yes, a video again, but it's only 15 seconds. It also, it kind of moves the order of things around so that things that you probably want to have featured more highly are featured more highly. And it also allows you to pin lots of your posts as well. And then, as you mentioned, the newsletter. I mean, I've just started a LinkedIn newsletter. I've done 2 editions, and they're based around these lives that we're doing. So I will be writing one about being visible on LinkedIn, taking some of what's in this conversation, but also adding other things that I probably forgot to say in the conversation. So if you're watching this and you're not signed up for my newsletter, please do that as well. So let me have a look. So Lise says, what software or app is good for creating a video? Would recording on Zoom be effective? So my very strong recommendation would be simply to use your phone, because most phones nowadays have really good cameras, much better than a webcam. So you could do it on Zoom, but the quality probably won't be anywhere near as good as if you just did it on your phone. And even if you don't have like an external mic or, you know, lighting, or so long as you're sitting somewhere, I mean, the lighting I've got at the moment is just my computer and the window. I do actually have other lighting that I could use, but, you know, you don't really need it. We will talk about this actually in the challenge, and I know you're in there, Lise, aren't you? Like sort of what you need to record a video. So I would use your phone. I personally, I have an iPhone, and I use an app called Clips, which will automatically do captions for you, what your closed captions, subtitles. So that makes it all quite simple. But you could just film it on your phone. Do you have any other suggestions, Fatima?
I've also on videos and on captions and all this jazz, none at all, because I'm, you know, this is my first time. And that's not true, because there are a couple of videos on my YouTube page, because that's something to be mindful of when it comes to visibility, how useful it is to have YouTube as well. And I've been experimenting with that. So, but even there, I haven't been captioning things. So, no, not really.
Well, there are lots of different ways to do it now. And it is getting easier and easier. I mean, if you upload something onto YouTube, even if it's private, you can get automatically transcribed captions from that. There are various apps as well, like CapCut is meant to be very good, although I haven't used it. You know, all of these kinds of barriers, technological barriers, are being lowered all of the time. You know, and even editing, like very simple editing, you can do that on Canva now. You know, so you don't need to kind of be an expert in sort of, you know, Adobe or anything like that anymore. So give it a go. Kath is saying, how often are you producing a newsletter? I'm doing it twice a month. And it's different from, I have a mailing list as well, but I'm doing different content in the newsletter. And yeah, it's quite exciting, actually. I mean, it's been going for about 3 weeks now, and I think I've got 1,600 people signed up for it. So, you know, I think it's not a bad thing to consider starting. Ludmilla says, I found Justin Welsh on LinkedIn. Oh, I don't know him, but she said, I receive his newsletter and feel it helps me make progress with my writing and positioning on LinkedIn. Sounds like a good person to follow as well then. Yeah, that's great. Oh, Jenny says, how often does Fatima post? That's a good question.
It's an interesting one because, again, as Helen Pritchard, another LinkedIn expert, likes to say, opinions will vary. She is a huge fan of posting as much as you can. Make sure it's quality content. So that's the catch, and that's a big one. But other people really believe that, you know, you can really overdo it and then you get penalized by the algorithm. So I am experimenting with this. So far, I have been posting at least once a day in the last couple of months because I'm in launch mode, kind of. But I don't think it can possibly be kept up just in terms of quality, and probably it shouldn't. And probably we also need to focus on varying our content. So really making sure that I am not only writing, because although I enjoy that most, I do need to make sure that I post about personal things. I start experimenting more and more with video. And then maybe they will make the same impact or more, even if I post fewer times. Just posting the same kind of written stuff, educational stuff, very frequently.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice. I mean, definitely on LinkedIn, I think you can get away with posting far less often than you can on something like Instagram, because posts do hang around a lot longer. So if you're only posting a couple of times a week on Instagram, you're going to find it very hard to make any kind of impression. But I think if you do that on LinkedIn, that might well be enough. I mean, I went through a period sort of over the summer where I was posting 2 or 3 times a week, and, you know, my numbers stayed up absolutely fine. But I have kind of gone back to every day recently, not least because I'm leading up to, you know, doing this challenge, and I'm going to be opening the doors to my membership again soon and so on. So I want to kind of build up a bit more momentum, if you like. But, you know, I think you have to work out what will work for you and what you can sustain, because there's no point kind of posting madly for 2 weeks and then not for 6 months. Okay, well, we're coming up to the end of the 30 minutes. If you do have any other questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. And if you're watching later on a replay also, and Fatima and I will come back and have a look at them. I would encourage you, if you're watching this in time, which is any time before Monday the 17th, to come and join my 5-day LinkedIn Visibility Challenge. You can find the link on my profile, and sign up for my newsletter while you're there. And Fatima, just before we go, just tell us a little bit about your plans going forward then.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Yeah, so my bootcamp starts on the 4th of November. There are still a couple places left, and people can check it out at fatimelosansi.com/bootcamp, or also by checking out my profile on LinkedIn. And the plan after that is to make it a modular self-study course that will be happening sometime later this year or early next. So if people would benefit from or feel like learning with other teachers, I really recommend that they join this cohort starting in November. And that's about it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so a unique chance to get to get some hands-on help from Fatima.
Yeah.
Sangeeta's saying, what was the captioning video app you mentioned? It's called Clips with a C, but it's an Apple. You don't have to download it. If you've got an iPhone, it's already on your phone. Just search for it. Yeah, Jenny's just put it there as well. Okay, lovely. Well, thanks very much, everybody, and see you at the next link. Earn, Learn, Thrive LinkedIn Live.
Good call.
Yeah, I have to practice that.
It's really fast. See you all. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks very much, everybody, for coming.